Good morning. Welcome back, fellow Hoops fans, to yet another episode of The Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV. As always, brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. Now, we're at the business end of this NBA season. The playoffs technically haven't started, but these playoff games have had some playoff atmosphere and some playoff vibes, so it's been good to watch. We've got a lot of big NBA games to talk about. So we've brought in the big guns. As usual, we've got old mate BK with us. And a little bit later, we're going to have a guy that knows about hitting a few big shots in the NBL because unfortunately, he hit a few of those against my beloved North Melbourne Giants back in the day. So I'm still holding a grudge against old mate Andrew Parkinson. He'll be joining us later on, but we're going to start out with old mate BK. BK, how are you, my man?
I'm good, my brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Enjoying these play-in games so far. I'm enjoying the narratives around these play-in games. I'm enjoying the narratives around this NBA season, BK.
Are you enjoying it as much as Patrick Beverley?
I don't think anyone's enjoying anything in life as much as Patrick Beverley is enjoying life right now. We're going to get onto Patrick Beverley in a second, BK, but we're going to start out. We have to talk about it. Old mate Ben Simmons. We've spoken about him many, many times. We've wondered, is he coming back? When's he coming back? What's he going to look like when he's coming back? Now, there's reports coming out this morning that Ben Simmons will be making his debut with the Brooklyn Nets. Game 4 is the game that people are talking about that he will be debuting, BK. This is a game changer for the Brooklyn Nets if this comes to fruition.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've spoken about this at length in the past, just how much of a difference he can make for them defensively. Because let's face it, the Nets, they don't play a ton of defense. And when it comes to the postseason, you need guys that can get you stops and you need guys that can slow down wings. And the Boston Celtics, their best two players are their wings in Tatum and Brown. And let's not get it twisted. Ben Simmons has put Tatum and Brown in hell throughout his career. I think he's held Tatum to 17 points. We've seen him have some great defensive games against the Celtics. So if I'm the Celtics, I don't like this at all.
No, if I'm anyone in the Eastern Conference, I don't like this at all right now either. And you make a good point because I think that's kind of somewhat been lost, over the last year in amongst all these Ben Simmons jokes and memes and all that sort of stuff. This guy, okay, yeah, maybe the shooting deficiency, yes, it's an issue, right? You take that out of the equation, this is a damn good basketball player. And especially on the defensive end, people forget he almost won a Defensive Player of the Year award not too long ago. So that's how good he is on the defensive end of the court. Now you bring in him, my only concern again, and I've mentioned this, BK, you're probably sick of hearing me, is trying to integrate a guy like that at this stage of the season. That's my only concern. But if they can do it, like Steve Nash has said, maybe bring him in a Draymond Green type role, this really is a game changer. And I'm telling you, the rest of the Eastern Conference is not very happy with this right now.
And look, I think if you're another team that has a very set, style of play and everything's, run by the book, the Brooklyn Nets have been operating on the fly all season. They've had Kyrie in and out of the lineup, Kevin Durant in and out. Steve Nash is just remixing these lineups left and right. So for the Nets, I'm less concerned about that because they haven't really had a lot of stability on the court this season. So let's just add one more wrinkle in and let's go hoop.
Yeah, listen, what a wrinkle to be throwing in Ben Simmons, because I just feel like the role that they want him to play is perfectly suited, tailored to his game. The Nets don't really need offense because Kyrie and KD can give you 50 points each on any given night. They don't need offense. They, like you said, they need somebody to help them on the other end of the floor. Oh, man, it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun regardless of what happens. All right, let's move on to old mate Patrick Beverley, BK, because the Minnesota Timberwolves won their play-in game against the LA Clippers, which is his former team as well, one of his former teams. Now, Patrick Beverley and the team celebrated like they won the championship, right? Which to a lot of people in the NBA world, it did seem a little bit over the top. But when you have a look at the Minnesota Timberwolves playoff record, it's quite dry, BK. They've made one appearance since the 2003-2004 season, which I believe was KG's last one there as well. So you obviously see why they kind of dropped off a little bit in those following years, but they haven't had much to celebrate. So I get why that sort of emotion of the moment took over, got a hold of Patrick Beverley, and also the fact that he did it against the team that traded him away last summer. They traded him to Memphis, who then traded him on to Minnesota. So he definitely wanted to get a little bit of revenge. I believe we've got a clip that we're just going to quickly show up on the screen right now.
Yeah, what I say in the beginning of the year, what I say? Hey, we're going to playoffs. Hey, check that goal off now, folks. Yeah. Check that goal off now. Bad boys. I told you he's going to playoffs, but nobody believed me. Weak ass Clippers. Beat they ass. Out of here. Out of here.
So shout out to Pat Beverley, who just won Game 7 of the NBA Finals right there, and he was celebrating it. He also had an interesting quote, BK, because he spoke about how badly he wanted this, and he said, take their ass home, about what he told his teammates. He said, it's a long flight to LA, take their ass home. It's deeper than that for me. I gave my blood and sweat and tears to that organization. You know the story, blood, sweat, and tears to just be written off like that he's injury prone, he's old, this, that. And then he said to be able to come here and play them in a play-in and beat them, no other feeling, man, no other feeling. What did you make of all this, BK?
Hey, talk your talk. The Timberwolves, they've been starved of success. Like they've been to the playoffs twice in the last 18 odd years. So the act like you've been there before crowd, they literally can't. Like this is everything for them. Like they didn't win a ton of games last season. They've been terrible, pretty much since Jimmy Butler took them to the postseason. So I get it. I'm here for it. And people accuse players of not caring enough and not wanting it. There it is. Like they're happy. They're not going to win a championship, but like for them and Minnesota, that is their championship, making the playoffs. So I'm not going to hate on it. It was funny. I was laughing, but I can't hate that.
Yeah, listen, I was getting those jokes off as well. And I actually don't mind Pat Beverley. You know what I mean? If he's not on your team, yeah, you might hate him. But if he's on your team, you want a guy like that on your squad. And you're right. Look, they're not getting past the Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah, I think that probably might go 5 games at best. But there's varying degrees of success for me. Like not everything is win a championship or bust, despite what social media will tell you these days. And the Wolves are making progress, right? It's a slow build. You're not going to go from not making the playoffs to winning a championship in a 12-month span. So they're making progress, right? They're a young core. They're enjoying it. Let them live, I say.
And who came up with the clutch steal at the end of that game? Patrick Beverley. Like you can tell this meant a lot to him. So I'm happy for the Timberwolves. We get to see more Anthony Edwards in the postseason. I'm good with that. It was a nice playing entertainment and a great advertisement for the play. And like, isn't that what the playing should be about? Like
facts. Like moments. They want more eyeballs on this thing, and this sort of stuff is going to bring more eyeballs to it. It's going to bring more eyeballs to that Minnesota and Memphis Grizzlies series as well. Let's see what Patrick Beverley has got in store. All right, BK, moving on. We're going to chat a little bit about another guy that's got a little bit of confidence about himself, and I like it, a young fella, Cade Cunningham, Detroit's Cade Cunningham, I'm sorry. He believes that he's made a strong case for Rookie of the Year honors this year, which, quite frankly, he's supposed to feel that way. Young fella had a good season. Now, the quote was, I think I made a strong case for it. I had some big moments this year that will show that I feel I'm the best rookie this year. And there's other guys that have had big moments as well. Now, Cade Cunningham averaged 17.4 points, 5.5 rebounds, 5.6 assists in about 32 minutes. Detroit obviously finished, second last in the Eastern Conference. He had a slow start, BK. But once he got going, he really showed us the level of player that he can possibly be in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the games he put up leave no question that he's probably going to be the best player in this draft. And when we're looking back in a couple of seasons, like he is a franchise cornerstone guy. Did he have the best rookie season? I say no. As you said, he had a great last 3-4 months of the season. But then when you look at guys like Evan Mobley and Scotty Barnes that were just doing it for longer on a more consistent basis, it's hard to make that argument. But is he going to be the best player in this rookie class by next season? Probably. So I'm not mad at the confidence, but I think when we look in the totality of the Rookie of the Year race, he probably did leave it a little bit late. But I don't know. The Pistons won 23 games this season. I think they could win a lot more next.
Yeah, look, I agree with you 100%, BK. I've still got Evan Mobley. And look, you can flip a coin with those two. I wouldn't be mad if either one of them got it, to be perfectly honest. But like you said, they've been doing it consistently over a longer period of time through no fault of his own. I mean, Cade Cunningham came into the year injured, missed a few games at the start, started to find his footing. We're going to put up another tweet here just real quick, just a bit of a comparison. This is now between Scotty Barnes, Cade Cunningham here. And now the tweet was saying that one of these guys won Rookie of the Month in March. The other one did not. And as you can see here, for the most part, that the numbers are either comparable or, maybe Scotty Barnes is a little bit ahead. But, Cade Cunningham was right up there, BK. That's not taking anything away from him. Had a great season. But, yeah, like you said, maybe just left it a little bit too late to make that strong case for Rookie of the Year.
And it doesn't help that Barnes and Mobley were both contributing to winning basketball. Like, that matters. It doesn't always matter in the Rookie of the Year race, but when you're seeing Scotty Barnes come up with big plays down the stretch on a good Raptors team, you're seeing Evan Mobley hold down the defense on a Cavs team that's in the playing situation. Like, even if the raw numbers are kind of right there, like that stuff does matter. It's that sort of next factor of, well, what were these stats for?
It does matter, BK, except for the year that Carmelo Anthony was robbed. And I know you agree with me on this one here. Carmelo Anthony. Facts. We're dying on this island. Carmelo Anthony should have won Rookie of the Year over LeBron James.
That would have changed the trajectory of everything.
It could have changed everything. You know what I mean?
I think only me and you believe that.
Yeah. All right, BK. We're going to move on yet again. We've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about Greg Popovich. Now, obviously, the San Antonio Spurs knocked out of the play-in tournament yesterday. Second consecutive year that they've gone out in the play-in stage of the tournament. Popovich has been at the helm of the Spurs since 1996, so it's been a long time. But he may have coached his last game. Obviously, there's no official word from the Spurs. There's been no official word from Greg Popovich or even any indication that he's leaning towards retirement. But it's kind of been talked about for a few years. I remember when Tim Duncan retired, people were saying once Duncan's gone, Popovich will give it up. He doesn't want to go through a rebuilding phase, but he's kind of, steadied the ship, I guess, in a sense, over the time that they've lost Duncan, Parker, and Manu Ginobili, and he's ushered in that sort of new era. Have we seen the last of him, BK, or has he got the hunger to go through this rebuilding project over the next couple of seasons?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, he's been there, 26 odd seasons. The most wins by a coach in NBA history, third most championships by a coach. Like, he really has nothing left to prove in the NBA. It is whether he's invested in this young group. And he has shown that, you can see he's enjoying, developing these guys, watching Dejounte Murray become an all-star. Like you said, the talk after the sort of golden era ended was he going to be happy not winning championships, and would he maybe leave and go to another team? I don't know if that's the case with Pop. Like, he hasn't really given any indication that he doesn't want to be a part of this or doesn't want to, keep going with this young core. I think he's quite enjoyed, this next stage of the Spurs and sort of setting them up for the next era. But honestly, it would be weird to be watching the NBA without Greg Popovich on the sidelines. But yeah, it's a tough one. You think he'll stick around?
I'm not sure. I mean, he is. I think he just turned 73 recently, or a couple of months ago. So he's 73. He is sort of, getting on. He's been there a long time. Look, and I can't say that I know Greg Popovich. Obviously I've spoke to him many times. I've been popped many times when I've asked the question as well. But, he doesn't seem to have lost any of that hunger for it. We obviously don't know what goes on behind the scenes. It will be weird to see a San Antonio Spurs sideline with somebody else as a head coach. I will say that if it does eventuate, it'll be very, very strange.
And look, they're building a nice little group there in San Antonio. Obviously with Dejounte Murray, I like Lonnie Walker, I like Keldon Johnson. Like, they've got something going on there in San Antonio. Whether it's going to be next season or the season after. Like it probably is, going to be a few more years before they realize, that potential that they have there. Is it time for a younger coach that wants to maybe take on that responsibility and usher that in? It would make sense, because if Pop sticks around for one more year, is that really going to be the difference maker for the Spurs? 2 more years? Like, I don't know. He's got nothing left to prove. I think at this point, it's really just up to what he wants to do, because he's already done everything.
Yeah, and look, I feel like with Popovich, like he's going to know when it's time to walk away. Like I don't feel like he's the kind of guy that will stick around just to stick around. Like I feel like if he feels like he's not contributing or making that team better, or they're not, the messages are getting through, I think he'll walk away. So we'll have to wait and see. One thing I definitely won't miss is being popped by Greg Popovich, because I'll tell you what, I've asked him some questions and gotten some pretty, let's just say, dry answers back in return. So
it's part of the fun.
It's part of the fun. All right, BK, we're going to let you go because we know you're a busy man. We're going to bring on old mate Andrew Parkinson right now. BK, we're going to catch you on Monday morning as usual. Now it's time to welcome on Mr. Magic himself. And I hate actually saying that as a loyal North Melbourne Giants fan, but welcome Mr. Andrew Parkinson. Parky, how are you? Parky, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me this time?
I can hear you.
Had me on mute.
That's all right. That's all right. We've got you now. How are you, my good friend?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Even though you did play for the Southeast Melbourne Magic, it is a pleasure to have you on, mate, and bringing your wealth of knowledge to the show.
I love the Giants, especially when Brett Brown coached. He played a zone for 48 minutes a game. Because back in those days, the NBL was a 48-minute game, not like the 40 minutes they play now. But no, I love playing your Giants, mate. So there were some good memories there.
Yeah, absolutely. Good memories for you. We had a few good memories too, but there was a lot of heartbreak too. I don't want to relive it, Parky, because it just brings up too many emotions. Let's get straight into the NBA talk and the NBA previews. We've got a few games, no games on today. So these are on tomorrow. A couple of play-in games to go tomorrow. We're going to start out here with the Atlanta Hawks traveling to play the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Hawks, for me, as they should be here, favorites, $1.79. The Cavaliers, $2.06. The line is at 2. Total is at 222.5. They're live on NBA League Pass tomorrow. Now, Parky, the Hawks are favorites for a reason, because I think Trae Young is playing some absolutely spectacular basketball. I actually have them coming through this game as well. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one too, Nick. I think the experience that the Hawks had last year in the playoffs. I mean, we've got to remember they played in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Bucks. So I think I think that team, especially with Trae Young, I think they're going to get it done there. I think they'll cover that spread. It's only a couple of points. As far as the total points go, in their first game, the first play they had against the Hornets, they scored 132 points. The total game score ended up being 235. And our great mates at TopSport had it right on 235. So that one was a push. But all the other out of the other playing games, they all went under. So I'm a bit of an under player, especially when it gets to the playoffs, because they scout a bit tighter. The defense picks up, there's no load management and all that sort of stuff. So I think that total there, it's been adjusted. I think it was about 225 a couple of days ago. So a lot of money's come for the under, and I think that's the way that one's going to go as well.
There you go. All right. That's game 1 of tomorrow's play-ins. We're going to take a quick look at game 2 over here. The Clippers and the Pelicans. This one should be pretty fun, actually. The Clippers, $1.55. Pelicans, $2.49. They had a nice win the other day to get to this stage of the play-in. The line here is at -4. Total is at 215.5. Live on NBA League Pass. Like I said, Parky, I think this one's going to be pretty fun. Pelicans have been fun to watch. McCollum was on fire, especially in that first half the other day against the Spurs. But I just feel like the Clippers might have too much there with, Paul George as well and playing at home. I think they might have too much experience as well for the upstart Pelicans.
Exactly. And don't forget about playoff P. He looked like he was back in his playoff form of last year. He had a great game. I thought they were unlucky to lose that one against Minnesota, and I think that's why when you guys were talking about Minnesota, it was like they'd won the championship. I think a lot of that emotion that poured out on the court that we saw was because they actually came back from a fairly big deficit in that fourth quarter. So I think that's why that win sort of meant a bit more for them. But in saying that, I think that showed that the Clippers, they're ready to go. And I think Ty Lue, he's widely recognised as probably the best in-game coach going around in the NBA. So he can make some adjustments on the fly. But I think the Clippers can cover that spread. I think it's 4 points at the moment. I think I like the Clippers in that. As far as the under-over, it's a bit low, 215.5. I do think the intensity of the playoffs and this game, because it's a knockout game. This one, loser goes home. So I'm not too sure on that under-over, but I think the Clippers -4 is a good bet.
There you go. All right. We both agree on the Clippers. We're going to take a look at some of Sunday's. Now, this is going to be the playoffs. No more play-ins as of Sunday, Australian time. It's going to be all playoffs. So best of 7 series. We're going to start out here with the Utah Jazz and the Dallas Mavericks. Now, there's no Luka Doncic for game 1. His status for the rest of the series is still to be determined. He will not play game 1, which is why the Utah Jazz are favorites right here at $1.48. Dallas Mavericks, $2.69. The line's at 5. Totals at 210. Live on NBA League Pass. Parky, I've been saying no Luka Doncic, no Dallas. I think they can probably withstand a game or 2 without him. But any longer than that, I think they're going to be in real trouble.
I think you're right. I mean, this game 1 is obviously at the Mavericks, because they finished the highest seed. But it's not too often you get a home underdog at $2.69. But there's a good reason for that, and that's because Luka's not playing. So, that's a real tough one. They get a 4th seed in the West, and they have a great season, and then Luka strains his calf, and those calf injuries. Yeah, we've got to be careful of those. It's not too long ago we had Kevin Durant. We had that little calf problem in the playoffs, and we all know how that ended. So, it's a real shame for the Mavericks having this home game and going in as underdogs. And I think rightly so. I know a lot of people say the role players play a lot better at home and they could step up. And it's possible that Mavericks could win this one, but I think, the Jazz experience in the playoffs as well will come through.
Yeah, and it's a shame that he actually hurt that calf in a game that he was originally suspended for, because he picked up that 16th technical in the game before. So was going to miss that final home game. Then he gets rescinded. He plays, hurts his calf, and it's definitely a shame. But it looked like
load management, and that's why we love the playoffs so much, because there's no tanking for seeds anymore, and there's no load management and stuff like that. And you see teams like the Bucks did in the East, where they sort of rested Giannis and rested their guys, and you kind of think, well, yeah, maybe they could have done that with the Mavericks, but I think they were fighting for that home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. So, they had something a little bit more to play for, but you'd put it this way, I reckon the Mavericks would rather be the 5th seed and give up the home court advantage and still have Luka playing.
100%.
You don't know how that's going to go, and that's just unfortunate. But let's hope, hallelujah, that we get him back. Let's all pray.
Yeah, look, as basketball fans, you always want to see the best players doing their thing out on the court. You never want to see injury. So hopefully he comes back and he's not out for too long. All right, next game we're going to take a look at here is the Minnesota Timberwolves, Memphis Grizzlies. Again, this is going to be a fun matchup here. Grizzlies favorites, as they should be, $1.35. Timberwolves, $3.30. The line's at -7. Totals at 234.5. Live on League Pass as well. Now, Karl Anthony Towns didn't have the greatest of games in the Timberwolves last game, so hopefully he can bounce back and have a pretty good series. Parky, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, you're right. I think, Cat only had 11 points. Fouled out with about 8 minutes to go in that game. So, yeah, he'll be chomping at the bit to get into this one. And this will be an exciting game of these two young teams. I think I think that's pretty generous given the Timberwolves +7. I know that they celebrated pretty hard after, winning that the playing game. But, giving them a 7-point start, I'm tempted to have a little crack at that one. As far as the under-over goes, 234.5 points. That's a lot of points. And I think, Patrick Beverley's not the only one that plays defense on the court out there. I think that total's a little high. So, I'd be leaning towards the under in that. That's a very big total there. Just as a note too, Nick, as far as the series odds goes, I think we've got it's very similar to this sort of game one. It's $1.30 for the Grizzlies to win the series, and $3.50 for the Timberwolves. And I might add that the TNT boys, Chuck and Shaq, actually have picked Minnesota in this series. So I think that's I don't know. I'm not too sure on that pick. I think Minnesota have done well to make the playoffs, and I think the Grizzlies, after the year they've had, I think they're definitely going to get through the first round, though.
Yeah, no, 100%. Look, Shaq and Chuck obviously probably know more about basketball, or they've forgotten more about basketball than I'll ever know. But I do think Memphis Grizzlies, it's going to be tough to beat them 4 times in a 7-game series. Like you said, especially after the year that they've had and the way that Ja Morant's been playing. So I'm going with the Grizzlies to win the opening game and obviously to win the series. I actually think it's going to be a relatively short series. I think it's going to be 5 games maximum. So let's see how that one plays out. Let's move on here to the Raptors and the Philadelphia. Again, this is going to be a fun matchup over here. Philadelphia 76ers favorites, $1.53. Raptors, $2.54. The line's at -4. Totals at 216. This one's going to be live on ESPN. Obviously, Joel Embiid, we know what a great season he's had. But the Toronto Raptors, don't sleep on them, because they've had some adversity over this season, some last season as well, having to play all their games in Tampa. So they essentially played 1 full year on the road. And then obviously this year they've battled COVID and injuries and a whole bunch of things and short rotations. And somehow they've ended up, where they are. This is going to be a tough matchup, Parky.
I think this. I'm actually going to go out on a limb and tip Toronto for the series. Look, they could grab this game one as well, but for a number of reasons. Firstly, the Raptors beat the Sixers 3 out of 4 times in the regular season, so I think that counts for something. I think also the fact is people are forgetting that Matisse Thybulle, who's probably the greatest role player in the NBA at the moment as far as the defense he plays. He can't play any of the games in Toronto. Now, I know there's only going to be 3, potentially 3, but there's going to be at least a couple of games where they're not going to have Matisse. We all know the struggles of Harden in the playoffs. There's a lot of pressure on that fella to perform. We know Embiid's probably the MVP, and that's another reason why I'm leaning towards the Raptors. The Raptors are all about winning. They're all about championships. The Sixers, I just get this feeling that they've really been pushing for Embiid to get this MVP. And they've really wanted that trophy. And Embiid's really wanted the trophy, and the players are getting behind him, and the organisation, they really want him to get that trophy. I'd much rather them focus on the Larry O'Brien trophy rather than an individual award, even though I actually think Embiid deserves to win it and he should get it. I just think, the ring's the thing. You know what it's like, Nick. The ring's the thing, mate. You're going for the championship. I just think there's been a bit too much talk about Embiid and his MVP. With the pressure on Harden, as I said, the fact the Raptors have beaten them 3 out of 4 times, and they don't have Matisse Thybulle, I'm tipping a bit of an upset in this series. And I also think that Toronto could probably, the +4 in game one, is a good thing. So I don't know what you think, Nick, but the Raptors at 255 to win the series, I think is a good bet, because you can bet on that, and even if the Raptors lose game one, you've still got that as a live bet. If they win game one, well, then they're going to be probably even money or even shorter to win the series. So, that's a real interesting one.
You know what, Parky, I'm not mad at that, and I kind of agree with you, because there's a lot of sort of factors around this as well. And look, you got to look at Doc Rivers as well, who I actually like. Doc Rivers. I do think he's a good coach, but some of his in-game decisions have been quite questionable over not only this season, but his past, even with the Clippers and with the Celtics. That's been one knock on Doc Rivers, that his in-game adjustments, in-series adjustments have been questionable. So, I've seen Nick Nurse and what he's been able to do with a shortened roster. And, I just feel like that's a very well-coached, well-drilled team. They're hungry. Like you said, they beat them 3 out of 4. No Matisse. I'm not mad at that. I really do think the Raptors could cause, what would be an upset, but I'm looking at it, it's like, no, I don't think that is an upset. I think they're equally matched.
Yeah, and now the coaching point you make, I think that's a great point as well. Nick Nurse, Nick Nurse is a great coach. He's even been touted as the front runner for the Lakers job. I don't know if he wants to mess up his career and go there. but no, I think that's another factor that I failed to mention too. Yeah, is the coaching part of it. I think Nick Nurse and his coaching crew, which has Trevor Gleeson on it, by the way, a little bit of Aussie flavour with the Perth Wildcats. So they could have used his coaching prowess last night. But that's another great point. I think, Nick Nurse, in that series, he would have scouted the hell out of them. They'll be more than prepared. That's going to be a real interesting one. That's the only game on Sunday, our time, that's in the East. All the other 3 games are from the West.
Western Conference.
That could be one of the most interesting games that day coming up Sunday, Easter Sunday.
All right, last game we're going to take a look at, Parky, here is the Nuggets and the Warriors. Warriors $1.39 favorites, Nuggets 3.05, lines at -6, total 223.5, also live on ESPN. Now, Steph Curry might be back. They haven't confirmed it. The target was always the playoffs. They always said he was going to be back and ready for the playoffs, so he might be back. It's no need for me to say if he comes back, obviously changes the whole dynamic of this series. Without Steph Curry, I don't think Golden State has enough to beat Denver, to be perfectly honest. Not over a 7-game series anyway. Parky, what do you reckon?
I'm with you on that. Basically, it's pretty simple. If Steph plays, I think the Warriors win. If he doesn't, then the Nuggets win. I think it's as simple as that. I'm holding off on betting on this game until closer to the day, because I think we're going to find out a bit more about what's happening with Steph. I did see a report this morning where Draymond Green was actually interviewing Steph, and he's pretty optimistic he's going to be playing in Game 1. So, and I think the way the book's looking, I think the books they've basically factored in that they think he's playing, because -6, 6-point start for the Nuggets with Jokic in his MVP form. I think it's all going to come down to that. So, but they were also talking, Nick, about he could have minutes restrictions. So I don't know how that's going to go. How Steve Kerr's going to manage that one if he does play. How many minutes restriction he'll have, things like that. But I think at Golden State with Steph, even if he's on he might be playing a few less minutes, I still think the Warriors could win that. But I'm not sure if they're going to cover that 6-point spread. So, we'll hold off on that one, punters. I think we'll wait close to the day. But, we'll rate on a few more injury updates on how Steph's going.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be the one to watch over the next couple of days, the Steph Curry injury update, and see how that one plays out. Parky, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. You're going to be joining us right throughout this NBA playoffs and NBA finals, and obviously bringing your wealth of knowledge and expertise to us over here. So thank you very much.
No, looking forward to it, Nick. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. We're going to catch you guys again on Monday morning. This has been another episode of The Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV. As always, brought to you by our great mates at topsport.com.au. We'll see you guys Monday morning.